Every day holds a story. Let's rewind. This is Today Rewound. May 6th, 1937. An airship's arrival should have been a triumphant moment, but instead, it became a haunting moment, frozen in history. In mere seconds, the pride of German aviation transformed from a marvel of engineering into a terrifying inferno that would forever change how we take to the skies. "I can see it now, coming down out of the rain and clouds, over the field," reported radio announcer Herbert Morrison, his voice steady and professional as he prepared to narrate what should have been a routine landing. Within minutes, his composure would shatter, along with the dreams of lighter-than-air travel. Picture this: a magnificent silver airship, nearly 4 football fields long, gliding majestically through the clouds, its metallic skin gleaming in the fading daylight, casting long shadows across the New Jersey landscape. Passengers inside, sipping champagne, enjoying luxurious meals, and marveling at panoramic views from their lofty perch. This was the Hindenburg, the embodiment of 1930s dreams and the floating palace where money, power, and progress collided. The Hindenburg wasn't just big, it was revolutionary. Unlike today's cramped economy flights, the Hindenburg offered unparalleled luxury: a dining room with white tablecloth service, a lounge featuring a specially designed lightweight piano made of aluminum and other materials to reduce weight, and even a smoking room. Yes, a designated smoking area on a hydrogen-filled airship. This seemingly reckless feature was actually an engineering marvel, designed with a sophisticated double-door airlock at its entrance that prevented hydrogen from mixing with outside air. It was the only room on the airship that allowed smoking or open flames, a rare privilege carefully controlled through meticulous safety protocols. For passenger Margareta Erdmann, who had experienced several Hindenburg flights, the airship represented the pinnacle of modern travel. "It was like floating in a grand hotel," she would later recall, "with none of the discomfort of a sea voyage or the cramped conditions of an airplane." For its wealthy passengers, this wasn't merely transportation, it was an experience. Fine china clinked as they dined at 1,000 feet, music drifted through the passenger quarters, and large windows offered breathtaking views of the landscape below. The Hindenburg represented the height of Zeppelin technology, a mode of travel that had, until that fateful day in May, maintained a perfect safety record across the Atlantic. But why use highly flammable hydrogen instead of safer helium? Here lies one of the tragedy's most bitter ironies. The United States held a virtual monopoly on the world's helium supply due to the Helium Act of 1925, which specifically prohibited the export of this precious gas to potential adversaries like Nazi Germany. While political tensions played a major role, the economics were equally significant. Helium was exponentially more expensive than hydrogen, and German airship design had historically relied on hydrogen gas. This combination of geopolitics, cost concerns, and engineering traditions forced the Hindenburg to rely on hydrogen, a choice that would prove catastrophic. In fact, there had been warning signs. During previous flights, crew members had occasionally reported unusual gas leaks and static electricity concerns. These incidents, while minor, hinted at vulnerabilities in the mammoth airship's design, vulnerabilities that would soon be tragically exposed. As the Hindenburg approached Lakehurst Naval Air Station in New Jersey after crossing the Atlantic, anticipation filled the air. Families waited below, newsreel cameras rolled, and radio announcer Herbert Morrison prepared to deliver what he thought would be routine coverage of the landing. The weather that day had been troublesome. Thunderstorms had delayed the landing for hours. By evening, conditions seemed to improve enough for Captain Max Pruss to attempt docking. Pruss was a veteran airship commander who had piloted the Hindenburg on numerous successful transatlantic voyages. A perfectionist by nature, he had expressed concerns about the weather conditions, but ultimately decided they had improved enough to proceed. The massive airship made its final approach, dropping water ballast to adjust its weight. Ground crews grabbed the mooring line. An eerie silence fell over the field. The crowds gathered below, hopeful, watching, unaware that history was about to be written in flames. The crew worked with practiced precision, and then, without warning, disaster struck. At 7:25 p.m., a small flame appeared near the tail. Barely noticeable at first, it was followed by a deafening roar as the fire spread in an instant, shredding the Hindenburg's once pristine surface, turning triumph into terror. The hydrogen ignited with violent intensity, fed by the highly flammable, doped fabric skin of the airship. Within seconds, the entire vessel was engulfed. The silver skin burned away, revealing its skeleton frame as it collapsed in a hellish inferno. The disaster unfolded with terrifying swiftness, from first spark to crumpled wreckage in just 37 seconds. Herbert Morrison's voice, initially professional and composed, broke into raw emotion as he witnessed the horror unfold before him. "It's burst into flames. Get out of the way, please. Oh my, this is terrible. Oh, the humanity and all the passengers." His broadcast, though not aired live, would become one of the most famous recordings in history, the first major disaster captured in real time by the media. Morrison's words would echo for generations. "Oh, the humanity," became synonymous with disaster, capturing the moment's heartbreak in a single phrase that transcended the event itself. For Morrison, a seasoned radio professional, this moment of raw emotional breakdown would define his career and haunt him for years to come. Of the 97 people aboard, 36 passengers and 61 crew, miraculously, 62 survived. Many jumped from windows or climbed down the bow mooring ropes. Others escaped via hastily deployed fire ladders or were pulled from the wreckage by ground crew who rushed toward the burning airship rather than away from it. The death toll of 35 might have been much higher had the ship been flying at altitude rather than preparing to land. Werner Franz, a 14-year-old cabin boy, survived by jumping through an opening in the flaming hull after a water tank burst above him, drenching his clothes and providing momentary protection from the flames. His youth and quick thinking saved his life, and he would go on to be one of the last surviving crew members, passing away in 2014. In the days that followed, the world reeled from the shocking images. Newspapers across the globe carried photos of the disaster on their front pages. Newsreel footage played in theaters everywhere. For many, it was the first time they had witnessed such a catastrophe in something approaching real-time media coverage. What caused the disaster? The question has fascinated historians and scientists for decades. The initial investigations suggested several possibilities, including sabotage, a theory fueled by tensions between America and Nazi Germany. Some, including Captain Preuss himself, clung to this explanation for the remainder of their lives, unable to accept any other possibility. However, modern analysis points to a perfect storm of factors. A hydrogen leak, an electrostatic discharge likely worsened by the thunderstorm conditions that day, and the airship's outer covering. This doped fabric skin, treated with metal compounds and cellulose butyrate, didn't function like rocket fuel as sometimes claimed, but did prove surprisingly flammable, accelerating the fire's spread across the massive airframe. While the sabotage theory persists in some circles, the scientific consensus strongly favors the accident hypothesis. Captain Max Preuss survived the disaster but suffered severe burns that required dozens of surgeries. He would live with the guilt of that fateful night for the rest of his life, never accepting that the disaster could have been caused by anything but sabotage, perhaps unable to reconcile himself with any other possibility. "I will never believe that the ship was not deliberately destroyed," he maintained until his death in 1960. The real legacy of the Hindenburg extends far beyond its fiery end. Before television, before instant news, the Hindenburg disaster represented a pivotal moment in media history, one of the first major catastrophes documented on film and broadcast to the world. The images and sounds of that day seared themselves into public consciousness, becoming a cultural shorthand for disaster that persists to this day. The age of the passenger airship effectively died that day. Though the Hindenburg had represented the pinnacle of lighter-than-air travel, its destruction shattered public confidence. The era of grand zeppelins crossing oceans gave way to heavier-than-aircraft, the ancestors of today's jets. Within a decade, the luxury and spaciousness of airship travel would be replaced by increasingly efficient but decidedly less romantic airplane cabins. When we look back at the Hindenburg today, we see more than just a disaster. We see a turning point, the dramatic end of one transportation era and the acceleration of another. We see how a single moment, captured on film, can reshape public perception and alter the course of technological development. The 37 seconds of the Hindenburg's demise changed our relationship with the skies and with technology itself. As you buckle up for your next flight, remember the Hindenburg, a reminder that every journey we take carries a piece of history with it. In our world of instant communication and viral videos, the Hindenburg disaster reminds us that some events transcend their moment, becoming touchstones that forever change how we view technology, risk, and progress. What viral moments of our own era might be remembered with similar gravity decades from now? Today, we fly across the skies at speeds and heights unimaginable in 1937. But as we take to the air, we should remember the cost of progress, the lives lost, and the lessons learned. The disaster at Lakehurst wasn't just the end of an airship, it was the spectacular closing of a chapter in our ongoing story of reaching for the clouds. A reminder that behind every technological marvel lies human fragility, and behind every innovation, the possibility of both wonder and catastrophe. If this story made you think about the fragility of progress and how quickly our technological future can change, hit that subscribe button for more historical moments that changed the world.